Welcome to Be Less Stupid, the show that helps you improve your decision making. Today, through understanding the science of human behavior. According to the latest polls, Hillary Clinton leads Donald Trump nationally, but by just 4%, which has led some people to ask, seriously, what does this guy have to say about women for people to stop supporting him?
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab him by the pussy. You can do anything.
In Trump's defense, that is the exact same advice that my grandmother gave to me on the day of my bar mitzvah. My grandmother had a very dirty mouth. Of course, some of Trump's popularity can be attributed to his candor, to him being a political outsider, his business acumen, and to his political positions on immigrants, crime, and Miss Universe's fat ass. And some can be explained by understanding a million years of human cognitive evolution. At any moment in time, our brains are executing billions of complex mental and physical processes: breathing, eating, seeing, moving, the heartbeat, pumping blood, or in Trump's case, bronzing. Not only is the brain implementing life's complex biological processes, it's also coordinating and executing our daily work and home life routines. That's why, over 1 million years, our brains have evolved to form strategies that reduce its workload. Of course, the best example of a brain that has evolved to do the least amount of work is that of the Kardashians, who I would like to congratulate on their handbag designs, a skill this baby elephant has demonstrated since birth. Where was I? Oh yes. Due to the complexity of regulating biological processes, the brain looks to reduce its workload, especially when it comes to making complex decisions. Because it's not like the brain can just decide to take in, say, half the amount of oxygen, or to make the heartbeat just, say, 3 times in a minute, or to make it so that you can only swipe left on Tinder. I mean, after all, if there's no right swiping, how will people get laid? How will there be babies? How will life continue on Earth? The problem is, the mental shortcuts designed to expedite and truncate information processing often result in people making bad decisions, because some substantive details necessary to make informed decisions are not given the proper weight. Science refers to these subconscious, instantaneous errors in thinking as cognitive biases. And these biases affect everyone, some to a higher degree and others, well, to a lesser degree. Now, let's see how these biases help explain Trump's astonishing popularity.
I've never said I'm a perfect person.
First, the availability bias is the tendency of decision makers to give preference to the most recent thing that they heard or observed. There are lots of people who, when they read something on the internet or hear a Bill O'Reilly lie, just accept it as a fact.
Bush says, I do not believe he's a true conservative. These people are stupid.
Remembering something contradictory is, quite frankly, too much work.
Do you identify more as a Democrat or a Republican?
In many cases, I probably identify more as a Democrat.
Researching the information's accuracy is even more work. So, when some Trump supporters hear him say this,
I'm the only one on the stage that said we should not go into Iraq.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
There has to be some form of punishment.
She has no natural talent to be president.
Grab him by the pussy.
that's what they believe Trump stands for. They believe he's against the war, in favor of punishing women who want abortions, that Hillary has no talent to be president, and that women should be grabbed by the pussies.
Grab him by the pussy.
And they trust it. To them, those statements aren't a flip-flop, they're facts. Facts they just heard their candidates say.
Go fucking make my tortilla, motherfucker, and build that fucking wall for me! Trump! I love Trump! Fuck you! I love my country!
And for these Trump voters who are afflicted with the availability bias, it doesn't matter that Trump has previously said the exact opposite of those things.
Are you for invading Iraq?
Yeah, I guess so. I wish it was. I wish the first time it was done correctly.
I am pro-choice in every respect.
She's very talented, and she has a husband that I also like very much.
Nobody respects women more than I do.
Up next, confirmation bias is a phenomenon whereby some decision makers seek out and assign more weight to evidence that confirms their currently held hypothesis and ignore or underweigh evidence that could contradict their hypothesis. Suppose one of the reasons that you support Trump is that you admire his business skills and his huge wealth. When confronted with news of Trump's multiple bankruptcies and his failure to pay income tax for 20 years, you immediately distrust it and then write a blistering rant on Facebook about how the liberal lamestream media is crucifying the second coming of Christ.
Grab him by the pussy.
Scientists have ample evidence that we humans tend to perceive negative news as both more credible and likely compared to, say, good news.
We are losing our jobs. We're less safe than we were 8 years ago, and Washington is totally broken. Hillary Clinton and her kind have run our country into the ground.
Evolutionarily, it was more advantageous for human survival to pay closer attention to the prospect of doom, despite how unlikely it is. After all, the repercussions to ignoring good news are very few. 1 million moms march when there's an unexplained uptick in drunk driving among teens. No mom goes to Washington to cheer when her kid comes home safe, sober, and not pregnant after the prom. More likely, these moms are probably going through their kids' pockets to see if those kids have extra Adderall. After all, mom's got errands to run, and she cannot be distracted. This irrational fear of doom that has been woven into our DNA also helps explain some of Trump's success. From his campaign's outset, Trump has preached that crime is up, that Mexico is sending us their rapists, that Muslim countries are sending us their terrorists, that African-American neighborhoods are unsafe, that foreigners both here and abroad are stealing our jobs, and that Sofia Vergara will cut a bitch. His promise to make America great again. For the portion of the population genetically wired to be hypervigilant and already living on the precipice of apocalypse,
Don't fucking make my tortilla, motherfucker!
Trump's message is a giant blinking, impossible to ignore neon sign of doom. And the only way to avoid that doom is to vote for Donald Trump. There's also something known as the bandwagon defect, our tendency to believe things because others in close proximity also believe it. It explains why people on the Upper West Side of New York City are largely Hillary Clinton supporters and why every town in Kentucky is voting for Donald Trump. The bandwagon effect also explains why people on the Upper West Side like bagels and why people in Kentucky think Jews have horns. I'm kidding. People in Kentucky have never seen a Jew, I think. In the gambler's fallacy, we tend to put a tremendous amount of weight on the results of previous events, believing that they'll somehow influence a future outcome. Think of the people at the roulette table who bet red because it's come up black 5 times in a row. What these dopes don't understand is that each wheel spin is independent and that the wheel has no memory of what has come up previously. In Trump's case, his followers saw him crush his feckless Republican opponents in the primaries. So surely he'll do the same thing in the general election. There's also something known as the sunk cost fallacy, a phenomenon where people justify an increased investment in a decision based on their cumulative prior investment. In Trump's case, there's a large percentage of the population that has had an 8-year intense hatred of Barack Obama.
Folks want to pop off and have opinions about what they think they would do. Present a specific plan.
And that the possibility of the election of Hillary Clinton would mean at least 4 more years of the same awful policies they already hate.
Don't fucking make my tortilla, motherfucker!
Given their investment in hating Obama, they align with Trump, despite all the obvious signs of him being a shit-throwing bonobo who grabs women's pussies.
Grab him by the pussy.
And finally, there's something known as the Dunning Kruger effect, which says that unskilled or uninformed people tend to overestimate their own ability or intelligence. In other words, there are some people who are too dumb to know that they don't know very much at all.
I fucked your whole fucking family with my big cock.
That's it for this episode of Be Less Stupid. You can see all of the other episodes by clicking video on our Facebook page. Plus, I encourage you to check out all the other streaming shows available at adorablepuppiesinc.com. That's This Versus That, Get Sex Tonight, and Pizza with Writers. 3 terrific shows that I think that you will enjoy.